You know, it's almost like your birthday with a package from China, so let's go. So in the jungle of devices, there are so many ways to play. And for the people just tuning in, I must say that there are so different kind of boxes, but you need to be very careful which one you should pick up. Because some of them look pretty damn cool on the box, but when you're going to plug it in, you will be disappointed. And that's basically the reason why I basically make these videos and these guides, just to help you out, so you don't waste your hard-earned money on this. So this is one of those, say, weird-looking systems. They have a lot of cool things when it comes to playing games, but there are some things that you need to know. So the most annoying thing with these boxes are, there is not a good, let's say, description or a name for them. Yeah, they call them the street mini things, but there are a lot of differences. So let's call this version the 1501, so it's a very small collection. Let's call it the light edition. Then we have the 3160 model, that's more like the normal, or let's say it like the normal version. And at last but not least, we're going to get ourselves the 4260 version. Let's call this thing the Pro. So yeah, these boxes don't have really a special name to them. You just call them the same kind of name and they just slap it in the same kind of box. But a fun fact, there are quite some differences between them. That is what we're going to talk about and which of the three is basically the best one. I'm just going to be honest, there are so many options out there. When you're looking at Super Console X game boxes, there are capable of playing more, and you're basically playing the same amount of money for it sometimes, maybe a little bit more, but you're just going to get more value for your money, and also with emulation performance. But let's take a close look at a couple of them. The first one, let's take a close look at this version, the 1501, and this is a quite interesting version too, because when it comes to these devices, also the software is sometimes slightly a little bit different. So inside the packaging, we're going to get, of course, here we're having the Mini Street Arcade, simple and powerful. But alright, so inside the box we're also going to get the necessary HDMI, but also can use it with VGA, and of course not to forget our PlayStation 2 shitty rip-off controllers from China. And a power supply. The Mini Street Arcade is a quite interesting subject, you can say. So it's completely different than a regular Pandora's boxes, and they are just aiming more like a game system. This is not like a pie inside the case or more of these weird things that they deliver, but it is based on a Linux kind of software, so it's similar to the Pandora Box franchise. That's the reason why I'm also going to call this on the top the Pandora Treasure. Basically it's just a name for, let's say, a box like this. It's more like a game system. It also includes an on and off switch at the front, but let's take a close look inside and what kind of connections do we have. So on both sides we're going to get a USB connection, but here we're having the CF card. Did try to add some games, didn't work. So we're stuck with the stuff that we're going to get. USB port is over here on the other side, and at the back we're going to get the HDMI output, VGA, audio output, volume control, and of course the setting button and the input for the 12 volt power supply. Okay, so when it comes to the PlayStation 2 fake controllers, some have a cable, this one comes with a dongle, and they also include some batteries. It's just basic quality, it is not the quality you want to have, especially you can notice it with the D-pad, and in the middle over here we're going to get an on and off switch. So, but most of these things are not a really great experience, and yeah, this is what you're going to get with these Chinese game consoles most of the time. Man, it feels rubbish. For the people who are familiar with the Pandora Box stuff, you can see that the menu itself looks very similar, only having now the recent options and also a search option, something you don't see very often, especially with these game consoles. And it's quite a mixed bag. As you can see, there are a lot of different games, but most of them are just more of the same, more like a minor tweak or a hack. And yeah, it's more like the same with this preview video that you have seen with the previous models. Nevertheless, for the people new to this, basically what you're going to get in one big gigantic list, and with some of the versions they are alphabetic order and some they have put everything just in one big messy list. But with this version we're going to get a recent list so we can check out which games we have played before, and of course we can search a game. So if you want to search a game in this gigantic mess of a list, you can do this very easily, and it works very well and very fast. The settings menu are similar like all the other Pandora boxes. We have in the EO tester, we can do the gamepad mapping. Game list, we can, if you want to remove games or just want to basically not show them in the list. The Neo Geo console, I did mess around with it, but I couldn't find any extra options. We can have a background sound if you want to, change out the wallpaper, language, clear the list, discard, and of course save and exit. Another thing is what's pretty cool with this system and not common with these game systems that we're having in the resume, exit, save and load menu. In other words, we can do a quick load, quick save, but take consideration you're only having one slot for each game. But what kind of games can you play with? Because we can't add games what you see what you're going to get. There are around 1500 on them and there are just a mixed bag and not a really 1500 because it's always more like hacked and different and clone versions. So when you're looking at the games, most of them will be arcade games. You need to think about MAME, Neo Geo. Those games will run on the system. But some of these systems you can find in 8-bit or 60-bit games, but it's always more like really old stuff. But let's get into the gameplay. Sadly, this console suffers from screen tearing like a lot of these Pandora's boxes, but nevertheless, what is a very good thing that the audio itself is not that bad like Pandora Box 5. But when you take a close look at the game list, you can see that it is similar like in Pandora's Box 5 or 6 that has been released quite a long time ago. And the reason why is very simple. Okay, the next one in the lineup is I need to cheat a little bit, 3160. So this, you would call it like the Pro model, just to see what are we going to get, what are we going to get on the inside. Let's see if it's worth it. Okay, so this is what you're going to get in the box itself. It seems to be this was a Pro version, but to begin with, we're not going to get wireless controls. We're going to get the basic Ucom controllers. Yeah, that's more like in question, what are we going to get with these? And this version even has the horrible quality versions. The buttons are very clicky. They feel kind of weird. The analog stick, the D-pad is flimsy. The shoulder buttons feel cheap. So nevertheless, I can't say anything good about these things. So let's put it that way. And the same goes for Play 2, of course. So we're going to get a VGA cable. We're also going to get an HDMI long cable. And we're having our basic 12-volt power supply. Yeah, they feel quite light, to be honest. They're not the best quality, but they're going to give you these things most of the time. Okay, here we're having the system itself. So the system, simple, powerful mini street arcade. So inside this box we're going to get actually the console, because this thing is completely redesigned. This is not like all the Pandora's boxes I've shown you in the channel, because this is completely something new. And I mean with new, they also call it here, this is what I mean with the naming, Pandora Treasure. So is it now a Pandora Street Arcade Pro, or is it just a Pandora Treasure? It's, oh man. So we're going to get an on and off switch here at the front. Very nice clicky one. There is no extra feet, so if you're going to put it on the table, it will slide all over the place. At the back we're going to get an HDMI and a VGA. And the VGA, you need to take consideration, this is just for the LCD monitors. If you're having a very old arcade, it's highly possible it doesn't work. Volume control, audio out, and of course the setting button like all the Pandora's boxes. And the side, at the left side and the right side, we're going to get the USB connections, and here we have the CF card. Take consideration with these versions, adding games is highly or not possible. I just wanted to point it out. To emulation performance with MAME, I must say that most of these games run pretty good. It's similar like the Pandora's Box 6. And the same applies for Neo Geo. It has a lot of good performance here, so there is no problem running that on a cheap system like this. And not of course, last but not least, we're going to take a close look at the Ultimate version. And yeah, this Ultimate came with 4260 games. And yeah, same box, same stuff, but let's go. And this is like the newer collection. It's a tiny collection compared with the competition, but it doesn't matter. Like, I'm curious like how this freaking box will look. Ah, yes, the white version, indeed, like the new version. I really love this white glossy color, to be honest. Like the reason why I like the glossy piano look, I really hate those because they're going to be like completely scratched up. They still didn't implement extra rubbery feet. I do have like laying around, but this thing will move around. So here you can see they have like the input for the power supply, 12 volt, HDMI out, VGA out, audio out, volume control like on Pandora's box, where you can basically change out the volume, kind of weird still, and having like the tiny button for settings. But we do have an on and off switch over here at the front, what I do like. And of course, the toilet paper manual. Ooh. Let's look at this. So there is not a lot of information in English, or there is. Yeah, there is. This is really like a tiny cute little toilet paper manual, I can say that. But when it comes to the specifications, yeah, I don't know if I'm going to be happy with this. So here you can see like this thing has the quad-core Gore-Tex A7 with the Mali 400 MP2 600 MHz, DDR3 2 GB, and a microSD with 16 GB. Something like, or sorry, microSD, or most of the time something built in. Doesn't matter. The thing is, like, it is not the most epic specification list ever. So the question remains, how good will this thing perform? We have like 2 controllers in here. Then we do have like the power supply, is a very nice looking quality one. Comes with 2 dongles, so this is more like the configuration that every controller will have a separate dongle. Sometimes we do have like, we have 2 controllers, 1 dongle, and we're going to get like a very thick, long HDMI cable. Holy crap. Let's take a close look at the controllers, and of course let's smell it. Oof, man, it smells like burnt plastic, but I must say that the overall quality, it's not the worst I have seen. Oh man, that click is so like cheap. But the ABXY button feels very nice. The reason I was doing it like this, because when you're playing some certain games, especially when the buttons are a little bit too high and they have like too long travel, you can just not really do this, or it's going to be hurting your thumb. That's basically like my wicked test to do that. The D-pad itself feels very nice, similar like the PlayStation of course, and I mean like the way how they made it. But and overall it feels quite nice, so we're going to try some games with it. I'm curious. It's not the best, but also not the worst one, so it's going to be okay. So let's put in the 2 DUP AAA batteries and let's go with the show. The system has been powered on. Let's take a close look at the dongle, because it's going to be in gamma. Which one will be the right one? My feeling says this one. Let's plug it in. You get the port on the right and at the left. Kind of cool configuration. Alright, so let's turn it on. Okay. Yeah, it's the right one. Alright, let's go. Okay, I must say that I am surprised they did indeed update the software, but it's more like in the naughty way. So what I understand of this thing is not official from the Pandora's Box DX store. And yeah, guess what the logo is? Pandora's Box DX. The nightmare never ends. The Pandora's Box DX. Yeah, kind of interesting to see that they're basically like using a completely different layout now. But the font is a little bit different, so this thing is absolutely not from the official Pandora's Box store. Alright, so when it comes to the game list, really showing you like the amount of it. So here we can see like the old school games like the PlayStation 1. We also implemented some Super NES, Mega Drive or Genesis known by many people. But that's basically what we're going to get. But don't you love it when they just mess up the title like this? It gives me that Game Family feeling again. For the people who didn't see it, like yeah, there was this board that was absolutely garbage. In my opinion. By pressing start the controller, we do get like the games option over here. We do have a recent and we do have a search option. So I'm curious about one thing. Does this bloody thing has Mortal Kombat? It does have Mortal Kombat. Okay, that is interesting. So let's see which one it is. Hello? Put it up. Okay, so it is actually like the arcade version. Pressing select will bring you back to the quick load, quick save menu. I do have like an option with this. Okay, pretty cool. Pressing start will give you like in credit, so they basically combine that button. Alright, so it seems to be working fine. Because in the previous version they completely messed it up, because these things were like completely underpowered. Let's see how the button mapping is. Can tell you, it's absolutely horrible, absolutely garbage. One button isn't even mapped. D-pad works very well. The conclusion is quite simple. These things are not like super bad, but when you're looking at the Gamebox jungle, and the reason I'm calling it jungle because there are so many out there are basically way better options where you're paying maybe the same kind of amount of money or maybe less. There are like kind of cute little things, but when it comes to the cooling, it's okay. But in overall, like the performance, it's not great. It's more like getting back into the Pandora jungle. Because the first generation of Pandora's boxes had the same kind of software, same issues. And it's a little bit of a bummer, they just implemented it in a different tiny case. The case, I love it. The controller not super bad, but an overall experience was not great. Let me know in the comments, did you ever like consider buying something like this, or did you buy it? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, consider subscribing, hit the little bell, and it would be great to see you in the next video.